The rain came without mercy that October night. Sheets of water hammering against Emma Hartwell's windshield as she gripped the steering wheel. With trembling hands, she shouldn't have taken the mountain road. She knew better, but the GPS had insisted this was faster, and she was already 3 hours late picking up her daughter from her ex-husband's house. 2 states away. Another broken promise and a long line of them. The wipers couldn't keep up. The world beyond her glass dissolved into liquid chaos. Then the headlights caught it, a wall of mud and debris sliding across the asphalt like a living thing, swallowing the road whole. Emma slammed the brakes, the car hydroplaned, spinning, careening toward the guardrail that separated her from a 100-foot drop into darkness. Metal screamed. The world tilted. Her seatbelt locked as the car tipped, suspended for one impossible heartbeat on the edge of nothing. Through the passenger window she could see only black void and rain. The car groaned. It was going over. Then light, blinding and sudden, a voice shouting through the storm. Hands on her door, wrenching it open against gravity. Strong arms pulling her out as the vehicle's rear tires lost their grip on solid ground. She hit the muddy road hard, rolled, came up gasping. Behind her, her car disappeared over the cliff with a sound like the earth breaking. The taillights vanished into the abyss. The man who'd pulled her out was drenched, his hair plastered to his face. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, clutching his leg and crying. He was breathing hard, his truck idling 20 feet away with its hazards flashing like a heartbeat. "I saw your light spinning," he said. His voice cut through the roar of the rain. "Are you hurt? Can you walk?" Emma tried to answer, but no words came. Her whole body shook. The girl buried her face in her father's jacket. "Come on," he said, offering his hand. "We need to move now." As if to punctuate his words, another section of the hillside gave way behind them, rocks tumbling across where her car had been seconds before. He scooped up his daughter with one arm and half-carried Emma to his truck with the other, pushing them both inside before climbing behind the wheel. The warmth hit her like a wall. The little girl stared at her with huge brown eyes from the back seat. A stuffed rabbit squeezed tight against her chest. The man threw the truck into reverse, maneuvering away from the crumbling road with steady hands. "I'm Marcus," he said without taking his eyes off the darkness ahead. "That's Riley. We live about 2 miles down the mountain. Road's blocked behind us. Can't go forward. We're going to have to wait this out at my place." He glanced at her. "You okay with that?" Emma nodded, still unable to speak. She was alive. Against every law of physics and probability, she was breathing. The cabin appeared through the rain like something from a fever dream, small and solid with light glowing from every window. Marcus carried Riley through the mud and motioned for Emma to follow. Inside, the air smelled like wood smoke and coffee. Photographs lined the mantel, all featuring Riley at different ages, always with Marcus, never with anyone else. He brought her blankets, made tea she couldn't taste, checked her pupils for signs of concussion. His hands were gentle, practiced, and she noticed the EMP certification hanging by the door. "You saved my life," she finally managed to say. Marcus shook his head. "I was coming home from Riley's therapy session in town. We take the mountain road because she likes watching for deer. Wrong place, right time." He paused. A right place, right time, depending on how you look at it. Riley had climbed onto the couch beside Emma, studying her with solemn curiosity. "Do you have kids?" she asked softly. Emma's throat tightened. "A daughter. She's 8. I was supposed to pick her up tonight. Now I don't know when. My phone went over with the car." Marcus handed her his phone without hesitation. "Call whoever needs to know you're safe." Her ex-husband answered on the first ring, his voice tight with barely controlled fury that dissolved into shock when she explained. He'd put Lily on the phone, and her daughter's small voice saying "Mommy." "I was so scared," broke something open inside Emma's chest that had been locked for years. When she hung up, Marcus was making sandwiches in the kitchen while Riley colored at the table. This strange little pocket of normalcy in the middle of catastrophe. The storm continued to rage outside, but here there was light and warmth and the simple rhythm of ordinary life. They talked through the night. She learned he'd been a paramedic before Riley was born, before his wife had died during childbirth. Before, his whole world had narrowed to this mountain and this child, and the careful architecture of their survival. He'd given up the job he loved because Riley needed him more than strangers did. Now he worked remotely as a medical consultant, drove his daughter to specialists 3 times a week for the selective mutism that had followed her mother's death, built a life from the wreckage of his grief. And Emma found herself confessing things she'd never told anyone. How she'd chased career advancement so aggressively she'd missed years of her daughter's life. How the divorce had been her fault, her choice, her ambition eating everything else alive. How she was always late, always promising to do better, always failing. How tonight's near death had felt almost like an answer to a question she'd deep been too afraid to ask. "You get another chance," Marcus said quietly. "That's more than most people get. What you do with it is up to you." The rain stopped near dawn. The road crews came at first light, clearing the debris, making the way passable again. Emma's ex-husband drove up from the valley to get her. Lily pressed against the window of his car, her face lighting up when she saw her mother alive. But before Emma walked out the door, she turned to Marcus. "Think he doesn't cover it?" He smiled, Riley sleeping against his shoulder. "Maybe we'll see you around. Riley likes visitors, and there's a pretty good diner in town if you're ever back this way." Emma looked at this man who'd driven through a storm with his grieving daughter, who'd stopped when it would have been safer to keep going, who'd built a whole life around protecting the one thing that mattered. She thought about the woman she'd been yesterday, the one willing to risk everything for 5 minutes saved on a GPS route. That woman had died with her car at the bottom of a cliff. "I'll be back," she said, and she meant it. 3 months later, Emma sat across from Marcus in the diner. Lily and Riley building towers from sugar packets at the next table. Their laughter bright and uncomplicated. She'd taken a demotion at work, moved closer to her daughter, started showing up on time. Not because she had to, but because she'd learned what mattered when you were seconds from losing it all. Marcus had saved more than her life that night. He'd given her permission to rebuild it, and maybe, watching him smile at her over coffee while their daughters played, maybe he'd found something worth saving too. Not from a storm this time, but from the lonely architecture of grief. A reason to believe that the right person in the right place at the right time could change everything. That answered prayers sometimes look like a stranger with kind hands pulling you back from the edge of nothing. That second chances were real if you were brave enough to take them. Outside, the mountains stood silent and solid under clear skies, holding their secrets, marking the place where the broken roads had intersected and somehow made each other whole.